This week in our series of political profiles, we're sitting down with Republican candidate for governor, Larry Hogan. Welcome, Mr. Hogan. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
The purpose of this series of interviews is to introduce the viewers of Montgomery Community Media to candidates who are running for state office, particularly those from other counties, not Montgomery County. Now, the Baltimore Sun describes you as a businessman and a former cabinet official. Is that a fair description? And why are you running for governor?
Well, it's a pretty fair description, and I've spent most of my life in the private sector. I did spend 4 years. I left my business to go serve in the Ehrlich administration, but for the past 25 years, I've founded and have built a successful business that has brought hundreds of companies and thousands of jobs into the state. Why am I running? I'm a lifelong Marylander who loves this state, and I really felt as if we were way off track, heading in the wrong direction, and thought it was important for somebody to step up. I think that an overwhelming majority of Marylanders are unhappy with the current leadership in Annapolis, and they'd like to see us go in a different direction. I didn't really have any desire to be something, but I felt an overwhelming obligation that I needed to do something.
Well, I get the sense from looking at your campaign that it's more about economic issues than social issues or other types of issues. And from your website, you state that there are 31,000 taxpayers who've left Maryland for better opportunities,
Yeah.
6,500 job creators who have closed shop in Maryland, and 180,000 remain unemployed. How will you as governor try to fix those problems?
Well, I'll tell you how the problem started and then how we're going to fix them. Since our administration left, the current folks that are in Annapolis, the monopoly that controls all the decisions in Annapolis, has increased spending by $10 billion, by 35%. In order to pay for all that spending, they pushed 40 consecutive tax hikes that have taken an additional $9.5 billion out of the pockets of struggling Maryland families and small businesses. It's caused a devastating impact on our economy. We've lost 10 of our 13 Fortune 500 companies, 6,500 small businesses, more than 100,000 jobs, and we're driving taxpayers out. Our group Change Maryland, which I founded, this nonpartisan organization, 3 years ago. We did all these economic studies, and we did the taxpayer exodus study, because everywhere I went, I was hearing people say, as soon as we can sell our house, we're moving. As soon as we can find another job, we're leaving. As soon as we retire, we're leaving. I heard people say, we love the state of Maryland, but we can't afford to stay here anymore. So it's basically, there's 3 self-inflicted wounds that have caused these problems. Number 1 is an anti-business climate in Maryland, where we rank 41st out of 50 states in business friendliness, and that starts from the top. Number 2 is the tax structure. We're the 7th highest tax state in the nation. We've just increased taxes by, the average Maryland family now pays $4,600 more per year. It's caused this mass exodus, people voting with their feet and heading for the exits. So we've got to reverse all those things. And third, it's the overburdensome and complicated and constantly changing regulatory environment that has caused a lot of our businesses also to not be able to make decisions, and people are just heading for the exits. Here in Montgomery County, you see taillights heading into Virginia every morning. That's where all the jobs and businesses are going.
Well, one of the struggles that we have in Montgomery County, and Howie Dennis, who was a Republican state representative as well as a Montgomery County councilman, says, here in Montgomery County, we love our programs, but we hate our taxes. And the state's facing the same dilemma. I mean, there's certainly a large amount of social spending going on and spending in general that Marylanders seem to want.
Right.
So how do you give them the services they want, but also in a way that it's more affordable?
Well, here's the problem. The problem is we're losing all of the producers. We're losing all the big companies, all the small companies, and a whole bunch of the taxpayers. So even though we keep raising taxes 40 times, the revenues are coming down. We're having less money available to pay for social services, to pay for very much needed programs and services. So our whole focus needs to be on restoring Maryland's economy. My focus is on jobs, middle-class families, and restoring our economy. We have to bring the businesses back to Maryland because they're the ones that provide the jobs. It's not the wealthy business owner who moved to Virginia that's getting hurt. It's the 100,000 people that have lost their jobs, and the state isn't collecting the revenue anymore. Virginia now has all those revenues coming in, so they can provide better services than Maryland does.
All right, well, I want to explore a couple of other topics because they are important to Maryland voters. First of all is the environment. And there are problems regarding natural resources of the state. And there's a difference of opinion, especially on hydraulic fracking in western Maryland, and also on Cove Point, whether that should be developed as an export terminal, because the Chesapeake Bay is considered a pristine environmental resource for the entire state. What's your position on those?
I agree that the Chesapeake Bay is critically important. We've got to do everything we can to clean up the bay. Most of the problem is coming down the Conowingo Dam and the Susquehanna River. And we're having to pay for the cleanup of states like Pennsylvania and New York who are sending all this stuff downstream. I think we ought to be standing up for Maryland first. I think we ought to do what Virginia and some other states, standing up to the EPA. I think we ought to be forcing these other states to pay their fair share and instead of trying to place it all on as a burden on struggling Maryland families and small businesses. With respect to Western Maryland and the natural gas, we have one of the largest reserves of natural gas in the world here in Maryland. Surrounding states, their economies are booming as a result of the exporting of this natural gas that we've got here in Maryland. We've had tons of time to study it. I want to make sure we do anything in an environmentally sensitive way. I think we've got to finish the report and get it done and stop the stonewalling, and then make a reasonable decision based on the facts that come out. But I'm for clean energy, and it's something that gets us off of relying on OPEC. And I think clean natural gas is something, if we can do it in an environmentally sensitive way, is something that's going to be great for Maryland and great for Western Maryland, especially.
We're running out of time, so I want to go over a couple more topics. One is, in the last session of the General Assembly, they did not address the problems of health care, even though the health care rollout was a huge problem. How are you going to fix it?
Well, this is probably the thing that has, after taxes, it has most Marylanders so outraged. We have wasted nearly $300 million on a website that doesn't work, and 75,000 Marylanders have lost their health care coverage. We have people contacting us at our headquarters saying, I'm a cancer patient. I've lost my health care coverage. We tried for months to sign up on this website that doesn't work. Now we're talking about spending another $60 million to rent a site from Connecticut. Here's what Virginia did. Virginia said, you know what? We have great private sector exchanges that can take care of this. And if you want to go on Obamacare, you go to the federal site. It works just as well. Virginia has signed up 3 times as many people as Maryland has for our $300 million.
We got time for one more question, and that's because your vice presidential candidate, Boyd Rutherford, was a regular panelist on our show. Yeah. What does Boyd bring to your campaign?
He's a terrific guy. He's not quite ready for being vice president yet, but lieutenant governor. He's a good friend. He's a guy. I knew that turning Maryland around was going to require an enormous effort, and I needed to find the most capable, most experienced partner I could. And Boyd and I served as cabinet secretaries together in the Ehrlich administration. He went on to be assistant secretary of agriculture in the Bush administration. He helped run the GSA. But like me, we both have diverse private sector experience as well. He's a small businessman and an attorney and a terrific guy. He's going to help me turn Maryland around.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. We'll end on that happy note.